Sup shitters, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video that I'm making for Branshi 730 Zhang. Branshi Zhang of a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody by Pink. If we switch over to here, we have the track on the screen now. Bohemian Rhapsody, for anyone who isn't aware, was originally released by an act named Queen, with the frontman being Freddie Mercury, who was rated by some as being one of the best rock vocalists or male vocalists of the 20th century. It'll be interesting to see what we do here. I'm eager to hear it. You know, we got mixed comments here, but that's okay. We're going to listen through this track from start to finish. I'm going to hear what you think. This is a live performance, bear in mind, but still, Pink is a good singer. So we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. The vocal harmonies at the start are working well. I think the piano playing as well as drums are a nice touch. Great way reaching that high note. Okay, alright. Okay, so she's got a set vocal range that she's inhabiting. She's really comfortable with her chest voice at this point. In the original recording, and I know it's unfair to sort of compare, you know, Pink to Freddie Mercury, but to be fair, she is singing Bohemian Rhapsody. It's the one song that if you're even slightly unsure about, you maybe don't want to touch it. But I think Pink's doing okay so far. But she's very comfortable within that main octave as a chest voice. She is nailing this part, I think. Yeah, this part here is fantastic. It's very comfortable for her. The piano player and Pink are showing great chemistry. And I think the beauty of having backing vocalists to kind of help her out at different ranges, and including like a contralto for those really, really low notes, is that you don't have to have Pink herself having to lower herself to a note she can't really hit, or to a higher note that she can't hit. Really natural vibrato there. She's trying to make it her own by varying the approach to some of these key phrases, like nothing really matters, like nothing really matters. You know, like Freddie Mercury obviously sings it about a billion times better than I do, but she's changing the rhythm of it and kind of letting it hang a little bit as if to try and put her own mark in it. That's okay. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with that, as long as it sounds good, right? Because if you're listening to a track and it doesn't sound good, it doesn't matter how original you've made it, people aren't going to like it. She hit that note quite aggressively. I would actually argue that I think Pink is a little bit nervous at this point. There's like a sense of urgency that's quite unfamiliar and alien to me in comparison to the studio recordings, where when I listen to this, she's hitting those notes real hard and it's a little bit sharp sometimes. But as she eases into the rest of the melodic phrases, she kind of tempers and meters it out a little bit though, you know? Like that part, she ends these lines really well. Great stage presence, clearly a seasoned performer. I mean, it's a really ballsy move, doing Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, we're being a little bit experimental with the guitar solo here. I mean, I'm not a purist or anything like that. I suppose maybe they had a little bit of leeway to not make it like the original. Maybe there may have been an issue with playing it exactly like the original. What I want to do is I want to go back a little bit, and I want to point out something very important here. Do you see this? Do you see that there is a camera person and they are filming this guitar player playing the solo because they understand that Pink is not constantly the center of attention and focal point of the performance? It's great. Because what happens after this is having his moment whilst Pink goes around the stage, greets the crowd and everything, does that, which is just as important as her singing. Because if you have someone who just sings and doesn't interact with the audience, it's not a show, it's just a live recording of someone very far away. Whereas for Pink to be a little bit more relatable with the crowd, even if they're paying for VIP seats, you do give them a high five. You know, like, just let them vibe with you a little bit. You don't have to be an ice queen or anything like that, or an ice king, or whatever, you know, without a beard, of course. But yeah, no, what I love is that the guitarist here is allowed to do the solo. The cameras, I assume there's a big screen behind them that's showing the focal point of whatever they're doing at that point. And then you come to this point where everything goes out. And that makes perfect musical sense to me as well from a production stage standpoint, because you don't need the focal point or the focus on the guitarist anymore. But see how they've still got the guitarist there, because the guitarist is still an important key member of the act. And these live performances in spaces like the States and Australia and stuff, everyone gets a bit of time. That was a bit of a reach. That was sounding pretty spicy. But again, what I really appreciate is that all the other instrumentalists are showing a great chemistry with Pink by singing along, because it encourages the crowd to do that. People love bands. They love groups of people jamming together and having a good time. And the problem is when you negate the experience of the listener to enjoy the group vibe, you just have one person that's their focal point. It's just a little bit less overwhelming for them. You want to get the listener lost in your world. The thing that I really have to say here is that for Pink, I understand that she's predominantly a singer, right? She may play other instruments, but she's predominantly a singer. Freddie was playing the piano for this. You know, he'd play the piano and then he'd control the stage. And again, it's not really fair to compare Pink and Freddie. They're different people. But then you're playing Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. This is what I fucking love about it. Look, to credit to Pink, you may be wondering why am I focusing more on the stage presence than anything. Well, it's because effectively you have a whole bunch of session musicians who are playing the song damn near perfectly. The main difference between the recording of the song, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, and this is, I mean, there's a few, I suppose. This is a more modern studio production, live sound production. You've got a different lead guitarist who played the solo differently, and then you've got Pink, who is singing and behaving differently. To be fair, it's great that Pink is getting involved with the cymbals. That's awesome. Like, I really enjoyed that. I like the fact, and Pink wasn't just smashing the dumb part about it either. Pink was like smashing the part of the cymbal you're actually supposed to hit, which is testament to the fact that I suppose maybe she either knows how to play the drums, or the drummer was like, yo, don't hit the right end, you know, like, get somewhere in the middle. But yeah, it all comes down to what Pink does. That's the main determinant of the quality of a cover. She's very charismatic. You know, she's got a set octave or two that she sings in, and that's part of her branding, and that's part of why she's so successful. In part is because her vocals are so easy to understand and recognize. She has a distinct, interesting vocal timbre. But this is the reason why live events are so important. This was a time before just with how close Pink is to the guitarist, it's just, who's obviously, I live in New Zealand and we've been locked down for a few years and we're starting to get a bit better about having no masks. But it's just having that kind of close contact with people on stage, it's just kind of something we haven't had a lot of, you know? Yeah, and see the great chemistry between the different members. Great show. You know, there was no auto-tune in that vocal performance. You know, it sounded like it was really Pink singing. She hit the vast majority of the notes there. Because this is the conclusion of my review of Pink doing Bohemian Rhapsody, my custom monthly music review for Branqi Zhang. You know, like, let's talk about it. You know, I enjoyed the way that Pink sung the song. Do I think it was as good as Freddie Mercury's version? No, but like there's no one who can do it like Freddie. I think it was testament to her. You know, I saw her, if I go back actually, you might see this this little comment here. Oh, her vocal range is showcased. The horrid costume showing her chubby isn't a tribute to Freddie but a big ego wannabe of a stature fail. The yellow jacket belongs to Freddie alone. I found a hair wearing one similar to his to be sacrilegious. I mean, like, honestly, fuck off, dude. Someone shouldn't wear a fucking jacket when they do a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh yeah, I'm sure Freddie's looking at her and being like, oh, you know, she has the balls to cover one of the biggest songs of all time. Definitely, that's someone that Freddie would look down on. You know, I think this is why you need to be careful about how you interpret and think about things, because, you know, I think the quality of a cover should not be how close it is to the original, but how it sounds. This cover of Bohemian Rhapsody was predominantly true to the original. You know, the story, as I understand it, Bohemian Rhapsody, being about a man who maybe literally or figuratively killed another man, and maybe, you know, like maybe maybe, you know, like I don't want to say more than that, but somehow the other person died and they're feeling guilty about it, and they're showing a real awareness of their mortality, and they're like, nothing really matters because they don't know how to cope with the fact that that person has died because of what they did. Now, Bohemian Rhapsody, I think there's a lot more to it, but I'm not entirely sure about it. I think there's still discussion to this day about what Bohemian Rhapsody is about. You know, it's a complicated song with a complicated arrangement, with a complicated performance, with a complicated production. I mean, the labels weren't even sure initially when, you know, Queen pitched it, whether they even wanted to do it. And Queen were like, we're going to do it anyways. And they did it, and it was successful. But it was a gamble because of how different it was to what the music was at that point in time. That's why Queen was so revolutionary. But they managed to avoid, I think, being as controversial because they made fantastic music. That's the difference, you know. Some people, music will be controversial because of how it makes people feel and think. But that music was so good that even if, like, it was different, people accepted it anyways. I've just realized you can't see Pink behind me. So I think, again, Pink's vocal performance was reasonably competent. It would not have been the same without the backup vocalists, and I think it's very important to mention that they exist. It's fair to say to Queen that they recorded a lot of different takes of those vocals to get them sounding like they did in the record. So I don't necessarily think it would have been the exact same experience through Queen live as it would have been in the studio. But I think that for Pink, she did the best she could in her range, and she also understood her own limitations, which was why she got other people in to help. The vibrato that she has was very natural. She hit most of the notes really well. I could tell there was some nerves, but she did the best she could. I think part of it, again, is because it's such a big song. It's such a massive gamble. You'll either nail it or you'll get shit on for the rest of your career. And I think that, again, Pink did quite well. There were some notes that were like a little bit sharp just because of the oomph we put behind them because we wanted to nail them. But aside from that, it was great. I don't personally think she made it too much of an ego project. I mean, like, the structure is Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, it's the exact same. The performance was Bohemian Rhapsody aside from slight changes in the guitar solo. There was very little that was different about it, and I think that was because of the fact that Pink was not wanting this to be an ego project. She wanted to play Bohemian Rhapsody, and that's okay. If you vastly change the makeup and construction of a track to make it your own, and you make it worse, then that's where you're going to have a terrible time. Even if you make it better, you know, some people will be like, but it was already fine as it was. It's still bad because it's different, because people are naturally afraid of change. But at the same time, I still think that Queen did a fantastic job. The production, recording, mixing, mastering for a live gig was where it needed to be for a major label act, and I think they did tremendously well with it. Yeah, there wasn't any auto-tune in the performance. The vocals were nice and crisp and loud, and all the other instruments were recorded phenomenally. I've got no complaints about the production side. I think this was a good effort on Pink's part. I think she should be proud of herself. Especially considering this is like early to midway through her career. She wasn't finding her feet, but she certainly isn't where she is now, where she's sorted for life. You know, like, good stuff. And thank you very much to Branchi Zhang for this custom monthly review of Pink's Bohemian Rhapsody. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show Pink some love via various social medias. I'm sure she's on YouTube and other places. Stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Patrons video. Spider hands up.